This is Matt for Boxing Social in association with Ready to Fight, freebets.com, Forge Irish Stout, Empire Fight Style. Been joined by a British champion, Fabio Wardley. Fabio, I appreciate your time. I feel very privileged, honoured,
Don't start.
lucky. I know things not what they used to be. I used to be able to go
Mm.
see a quick interview. Yeah, mate, I'll jump on. And now it's like, trying to get hold of the king.
I'm just busy, mate. I'm training. I'm in the gym. I'm just getting work done. That's all.
Busy. Busy.
I'm busy. I'm busy.
Well, anyway, it's good to hear from you. We haven't spoke since Saudi, since you came off that victory against David Adelaide. Um, Obviously now I think you're in a very good position, promotionally free and can sort of go where you want. You'll have people wanting to come after you for obviously that British title. I know you're wanting to kick on, but as things stand right now, what's the sort of next step for you? We've got some fights coming up in Saudi Arabia. Um,
Mm.
Fury Usyk one. I don't know if that's too soon, but obviously Joshua Ngannou now. Where are we at with you? What can you tell us?
Um, nowhere, nothing, nowhere or nothing particularly solid. I'm just playing around with options, really. Like you said, I'm in a fortunate position to be able to be in charge of my own career and dictate as and where or as and what I want to do and where I want to go. So that's all we're doing at the moment, really. It's just looking around. There's options. There's discussions being had, conversations and things. So it's all very open and up in the air at the moment. Nothing's locked in or set. So I'm just in the gym training, waiting to be ready.
What are the options then? Because you talked about having these fights domestically. Obviously, your Frazer Clarke's, Solomon Dacres, all that. You're sort of on that cusp now of making that jump into you know, huge fights. When we look at the
Mhm.
world level scene now, and it seems like obviously, especially in Saudi, that people they're making stuff happen. What are the options currently on the table for you as it stands? What are the sort of names you're looking at? Is it your Fraser Clark's, etc.? What is it?
Yeah, well, it depends, doesn't it? It depends what route I want to take. Like I said, there's that variation of options. If I wanted to stay domestic and British, then I think Fraser's the most obvious option. If we do decide to kick on, then we look at who's in those contentions as well, because I've got the WBA and WBO, so quite high in those rankings. So maybe we pick a maneuver to position ourselves even higher within those rankings. Or we still look internationally, but not as such a big jump. Maybe hunt for another belt of some sort, maybe a European, something like that. Like I say, we're playing around with different options of what we think right now at this stage of my career, what's best. If trying to map out the year as well and how we want our overview of the year to look. So not rushing, not getting too ahead of ourselves, but just trying to have a bit of a plan in place. But like I say, we're only a few weeks into the new year, so it's just conversations and just chatting.
Is that being key for you? So obviously, when you started, and everyone obviously knows your story of how you got into boxing. Is that what you're sort of quite pleased about the fact that you have sort of had that momentum, but it's been done at the right steps. You've taken fights sort of at the right time. You've not gone sort of step too far up, in levels or had two fights too far down. You sort of progressed nicely. Have you been quite pleased with sort of your trajectory so far?
Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. There was a few moments in my career where it either peaked or dipped a bit higher or lower than I probably wanted it to, but that just comes with moving through. But overall view, if you look at my career, I'm happy with the way it's progressed. Definitely.
I saw on Twitter, there was a tweet, I think October Red retweeted it saying Wardley Clark will be good for the AJ Ngannou undercard. He then quote tweeted that Fraser and put, would be very nice, wouldn't it? Bring this guy back down to earth.
where have I gone?
You are hard to get hold of these days.
Yeah, I'm not that easy to get hold of anymore. Not much else has changed. I'm still the same guy, I promise. Don't worry.
Do you want to is that fight appeal to you most, or as it stands in terms of what will sort of capture the public's imagination, like in terms of especially domestically?
I think you're right in saying it's the one that would definitely get the public's attention most of. I just want it easy to be done. I don't want the fuss and faff. I've had it before in the past with him in particular. And that's all I don't want. So all I want to make sure is that everything's easy to do. There's no back and forth. There's no long drawn out. There's no time being wasted. Yes, yes, tick it off. Cool, let's go.
It sort of seems to be happening that now, though. Do you not, with this how the Saudis have progressed things? We've seen. I know we were supposed to see Wilder Joshua. Who knows? We may see it down the line, but they managed to bring them two together. I mean, they managed to bring Frank and Eddie together on one table. I don't think anyone thought that would ever happen. Do you think your next fight will be back there? You think?
Again, it depends on what fight I point towards or what fight I go for. I don't the Saudis. I know it's great to say that they're good at putting everything together, but fighting on them cards is never like a foregone conclusion. They're very obviously very sought after slots to be on those cards, and the Saudis only want the highest of highest quality on there as well. They're not just going to chuck anyone on those cards fighting anyone. So it's never a shoe-in to be on those cards. Obviously, it's great. It's a great event to be a part of. They're massive shows, and there's always a massive amount of eyes on them. The opportunity for it is always fantastic, but it's never 1000% sold in. So I'm not trying to get too sucked in on whether it would be that, whether it wouldn't be. It's just looking at what's around, and like I say, just whatever's easiest. Like if we can just get a good fight, get it ticked off, and get it signed and over the line, then cool. Let's move forward.
You obviously you sort of I know you split your time. You're at sort of Ben Davison's gym. You alluded 3 or 4 times a week. We've seen you sort of I think the last few fights got sort of come on leaps and bounds. That gym in particular is out on a very good run in terms of results, performances. What's been the sort of most notable thing you've seen maybe change in your game? Working obviously. I know you've worked with Ben, but like closer with Ben, and obviously your trainer. And what's been sort of notable changes you've seen in yourself?
I think it's my boxing IQ and just the analysis of what's going on during a fight and having being able to assess it properly and come up with the right answers of, okay, I keep finding myself in this position. I need to figure out the right way out of it or the best way. All right, this fighter does this a lot. I'm struggling with it. How do I get around it? How's best to maneuver it, manage it? But those thoughts, but then on the fly, like in the ring, instead of having to even go back to my corner and go, right, he's doing this a lot. How do I get around that kind of thing? I don't even need to have the conversation because we've practiced 3 or 4 different scenarios of how to manage certain situations. So on the fly in the ring, it's almost piecing together a puzzle and I can go, right, that bit doesn't fit, that doesn't work, don't need that, chuck that. Okay, that's good, that's good. And I'm piecing it all together, but whilst in the ring, whilst in the fight, whilst in the moment. I think that's probably one of the main things for me that I've seen that's done me the best.
You obviously you got AJ now down in that gym training with Ben. Are you are you sparring with AJ? Are you working with him, or are you on separate sessions? How does it work? Does he have you all in together down there? How does it work?
I haven't sparred him, no. Not what I have in the past, but not since he's been down there at all. He's obviously very particular with his sparring. His last opponent was a southpaw, and then Ngannou, I'm not body type, size, and everything, stylistically and everything. I'm not a good makeup for that really. So they're very particular with their sparring, so I haven't sparred them and stuff. But we all mix in and out. We've all just got there's lots of us down there. There's a whole crew of us down there. So we've all got our time slots and we're mixing in and we're overlapping in bits and bobs. But it's just a good group of people who are it's a good buzz of people to be around in the gym, all grafting, all working hard, and all just wanting to be better.
What do you make of Joshua and Ngannou? We saw Ngannou versus Fury. A lot of people didn't expect that. People are saying that Joshua's last performance looked the best they'd seen him in a while. Very composed, calculated. Looked like he had been tweaked in terms of the performances before that. What do you make of this fight that's coming up?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think AJ gets the benefit of the question mark being erased over Ngannou of kind of how he would look in a ring or how he's going to come in or is he going to be any good or I think you know that you need to prepare for him definitely.
Mm-hmm.
That if you thought and that he was going to turn up sloppy or be stiff and not very agile in there at all, that you were going to be wrong, and he actually comes to fight and wants to really put on a good performance. So you know that you need to go in there prepared, and they're two massive men as well. So going in there, swinging it out, and seeing how he comes out on top. It'll be interesting to watch, definitely. But Ngannou with his power and stuff is always a massive. Like you saw what he did to Fury. That's always a massive question mark. But letting him land or letting him get that comfortable thing, that's the question. I think that's where Ben and that lot are smart to put the right plan in place.
You think Anthony would have that sort of thing of wanting to do, obviously, like a number on him to prove that, look, this is what sort of should be happening when you get that MMA crossover appeal. Like,
Mm.
obviously, it's like a pride thing, isn't it? I suppose when you get a guy from that world coming over into your sort of domain, you want to show that, look, this is what it's about over here, kind of thing. Do you think he'll have that in his mind to say, you know what, I'm gonna try to clear this guy out? Obviously, calculated, but to try and do it like in a way where everyone assumed Tyson maybe would.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's always because as much as you, as boxers, as fighters, and everything, as well, whoever in boxing, you try not to read into those, comparing those things too much. You're just trying to let them go by and go, yeah, well, that doesn't equal the same thing. But also, it is still a good bragging right. Look, I got him out there in 6. You struggled through 12 rounds or whatever else, or however else you want to frame it. It's a good line. It's something good for you to clickbait when you interview him and that. So it'll work well for you and that.
I don't do that stuff. Obviously, Tyson's coming up. It's a month, I think, a month today. Tyson versus Usyk. With what and last time I know people there's maybe some question marks over Tyson, but huge fight, undisputed heavyweight title. With everybody's been wanting to. I'm sure one day you'll be wanting to be a part of this sort of fight, the magnitude of this fight. What's your take on it now after sort of seeing how things have progressed to sort of the last 12, 18 months?
Yeah, it's still bang on 50-50 for me. It's so hard because they're coming off two not their great performances, both of them. So there's you can read into it, you can't read into it. Take something from it, don't. They've both not really faced anyone like the other person either. So it's hard to draw from previous experiences to see what they're going to turn up like. And Fury as of late, and there's been question marks whether he's still in it, like really still really wants it, coming off the Ngannou performance and things, and then obviously the stuff that happened with Dubois and Usyk and him getting hit, and would he have got up? Wouldn't he? There's just question marks all over, which makes it so intriguing. So it's even hard to put a knock on it to say, oh yeah, I think this will happen because I think we've found out in these most recent spell of fights that you don't know what's going to go on in that ring.
Last couple from me. Who do you see as your sort of dance partner in the next sort of 18, 24 months where that opportunity? So obviously you want to be world heavyweight champion, unified, undisputed, all that jazz, depending on how things map out. But this current crop of fighters, obviously AJ Tyson, they're in the 30s. I know, fighters can go as long as they're healthy and stuff, but they've made the money. You would assume next couple of years they maybe move on. Who do you see as your dance partner for that big fight with the next crop of heavyweights that are sort of coming through? I know Dubois is only young, I think he's 26. If you're Jared
Mm.
Anderson's, I'm not going to disrespect him by not saying any more names just in case, because I'll leave someone out. But you, you look and go, you know what? A few years, build that up. That'd be a good fight.
Yeah, those two names were the main ones I thought of when you thought of it. Probably Anderson is probably the main one. I think that's the most likely one. Pitting obviously the UK versus America and the building of him over there and me over here and stuff. And if we, like you said, 18 months, 2 years, something like that down the line, we've both had a few more fights, a few more interactions, whatever else. It builds quite nicely, I think, something like that.
If you could map out this year, how does it look? How many fights? And who do you want? What do you want? 2024, map it out for me. What's an ideal Fabio Wardley? With take
Yeah,
and bullshit that goes on.
um, I definitely want 3 fights this year. I only managed 2 last year, so they were, don't get wrong, 2 good fights on 2 massive cards. But yeah, I definitely like 3 fights this year. Um, I think one more against British opponents, so Frazer in there somewhere. Like to go back to Saudi at some point, definitely. I don't know how to, and then I don't know. I think by the end of this year, I'm top 10 in I think 3 out of 4 or 5 of the governing bodies or something like that. So I think I'd like to be well solidly based kind of in all the governing bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the start of next year, be in a position to kind of pick a route and say, right, this is the world title I want to go for. I think that's where the aim is for me, is to have some good fights on some good shows this year, but be well positioned for a strong 2025, and then really look forward and go, right, where's the way we're going now? Which way are we pointing?
Has this helped you, just while you're saying that, has this helped you being sort of promotionally free? A lot of fighters, it's hard to do if you're coming up and you've maybe not got that already sort of built up record. Obviously, you've got names on your record, you've got belts, so it's harder if you're doing it with nothing. But do you think this is going to help you over the next sort of year or so? Because you can literally bounce where you want, or are you open to being signed?
I'm open to everything. I'm open to all options. It's just whatever looks the best at the moment in time. And I knew where I was in the position of moving into having British title fights, that it was best for me to be a free agent at that point. And then going forward, maybe I think however we're going to maneuver it, that it's best for me to lock in with someone. I think I assess it on a per fight basis, and that was all I ever wanted really, was to be able to do that, was to be able to look at my own career and go, right, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? What's best for me? That was always the question, really. So I'm open to being signed in with someone, or just slinging it out on my own and just keep cracking on and looking out for number one.
Absolutely. Well, Fabio, I appreciate you giving us some of your time. I know it's in short supply these days. Um, I only messing. No, look, I appreciate you jumping on. You're busy and you're working hard and working towards another fight, another big fight. And we'll look forward to catching you up when you get something announced. I'm sure it's not going to be too far away.
Cheers, bud. Thank you.
No worries.
We need to think of a new advert for freebets.com.
Get your best betting offers from freebets.com.
Yeah, that'll do.
The following deals are now live.